The ancient record. Dr. Sarah Chen stood motionless in the depths of Europa's ice caves, her headlamp illuminating what shouldn't exist. The wall before her bore markings that defied conventional archaeology, precise geometric patterns carved into the ice with a technology that, according to every history book, humanity hadn't possessed during the first Europan expeditions. "Control, are you seeing this?" she whispered, her breath fogging in the minus 160 degrees Celsius air of the tunnel. The quantum entanglement communicator on her shoulder hummed softly, maintaining instantaneous contact with the research base 300 meters above. "Confirming visual, Dr. Chen." Director Matthews' voice crackled in her ear. "Those patterns, they match the artifacts from Mars Station Zero." Sarah's hand, protected by layers of thermal gear, traced the air just above the etchings. They pulsed with a faint blue luminescence, responding to her proximity. "This is impossible." The Mars artifacts were dated to 300 years ago, during the first expansion. We barely had fusion drives then, let alone whatever technology made these. The discovery had started 3 weeks ago, when her team's deep scanning array detected an anomaly beneath Europa's ice sheet. What they'd found was a network of tunnels that shouldn't exist, carved with precision that their current mining technology could barely match. But it was what the tunnels contained that had brought Sarah to this moment. "Dr. Chen," Matthew's voice carried an edge of urgency now. "The quantum sensors are picking up increasing activity. Whatever those markings are, they're becoming more energetic." Sarah pulled out her specialized scanning equipment, designed specifically for xenorchaeological sites. The readings made her breath catch. "These aren't just markings, Director. They're data storage devices, and they're active." The patterns began to shift, rearranging themselves before her eyes. Her scanner's translation matrix worked furiously, trying to decode the changing symbols. Then everything stopped. The blue glow stabilized, and her scanner beeped. "I'm getting something," she reported, eyes fixed on the display. It's in English. That's not possible." The message was simple, but made her blood run cold. "They are returning. Find the HFY Sci." Before she could process the implications, her emergency comm channel burst to life. "Dr. Chen, return to base immediately," Matthews ordered, his voice tight with controlled panic. "We're picking up multiple objects entering the solar system at FTL speeds. They just appeared past Neptune's orbit." Sarah's training kicked in. She quickly set up a quantum imaging array to continue recording the wall's data and began her retreat through the ice tunnels. What kind of objects? Unknown design, but they're massive. Largest is about 3 kilometers long. The Solar Defense Force has classified this as a first contact scenario. Matthews paused. "Sarah, they're not responding to any communication attempts." As she made her way back through the tunnels, her mind raced. The timing couldn't be coincidence. Ancient warning messages activating just as unknown ships entered the system. "Director, we need to prioritize decoding these data stores. I think someone left us a message. A warning." "Agreed. But right now, we need you topside. SDF is implementing Protocol Omega. All key scientific personnel are being evacuated to Earth." Sarah reached the main shaft where her ice climbing gear waited. As she began her ascent, she couldn't shake the feeling that the message was incomplete. Who was returning? What was the Hyperion? And why did she have the terrible feeling that humanity was about to face something it wasn't prepared for? The next 48 hours passed in a blur of evacuation protocols and urgent conferences. Sarah found herself in the heart of Solar Defense Force headquarters beneath the Himalayas, presenting her findings to a room full of humanity's highest-ranking military and scientific leaders. "The patterns we found match others discovered across the solar system," she explained, projecting a holographic comparison. "Mars, Venus's upper atmosphere, and now Europa. They all contain the same basic structure, but each seems to hold different information." Admiral Hassan, commander of the SDF, leaned forward. "And you're certain these markings are of human origin?" The latest quantum dating puts them at roughly 300 years old, during our first expansion into the solar system. Sarah brought up another hologram, this one showing historical records. But here's where it gets strange. There's no record of us having the technology to create these marks. Nothing in our history suggests we could manipulate matter at the subatomic level required for these data storage systems. Doctor, a voice came from the shadows at the back of the room. A woman Sarah didn't recognize stepped forward, wearing a uniform without insignia. Are you familiar with the Hyperion incident? Sarah shook her head. There's no historical record of any. There wouldn't be, the woman interrupted, because officially it never happened. She placed a small device on the conference table. A new hologram appeared, showing what looked like an advanced warship. 300 years ago, humanity didn't just expand into the solar system. We defended it. The room fell silent as the woman continued. The Hyperion was the most advanced ship ever built by human hands. It used technology we still don't understand. Technology that was lost when the ship disappeared after defending Earth from its first alien invasion. Admiral Hassan's face hardened. That information is classified at the highest levels. Why are you? Because history is repeating itself, the woman cut him off. The ships that just entered our system, they match the energy signatures of the force the Hyperion fought 3 centuries ago. And this time, there are more of them. Many more. Sarah's mind raced, connecting the dots. The messages we found. They're not just warnings. They're instructions, aren't they? A path to find the Hyperion. The woman nodded. We believe so, but no one has been able to decode them fully. Until now, we didn't have the right combination of discoveries, or perhaps, she looked meaningfully at Sarah, the right person to interpret them. A new alert sounded throughout the chamber. Admiral Hassan pressed a button, and a tactical display appeared above the table. The alien ships had accelerated. They would reach Mars orbit in less than a week. Dr. Chen, Hassan said, his voice grave. How quickly can you decode those messages? Sarah looked at the tactical display, then back to her data on the mysterious markings. Humanity's entire defense fleet was gathering, but the alien ships dwarfed anything they had. Their only hope might lie in a 300-year-old ghost story. Give me access to all the sites, she said firmly, and every piece of data you have on the Hyperion. We've got a week to solve a mystery 3 centuries in the making. As she left the chamber to begin her work, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that those ancient tunnels under Europa's ice had been waiting for her. Waiting for this moment. Now she just had to hope she could unlock their secrets before it was too late. The hidden truth. Sarah's fingers flew across the holographic interface, correlating data from sites across the solar system. She had turned one of the SDF's secure laboratories into her personal command center, walls covered with projections of the mysterious markings. 3 days had passed since the briefing, and the alien fleet drew closer with each passing hour. There's a pattern here, she muttered, manipulating a 3-dimensional representation of the Europa site. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez, her newly assigned military liaison, watched from nearby. The markings aren't just data storage, they're a key. A key to what? Maya asked, stepping closer to examine the floating symbols. Look at this. Sarah brought up simultaneous displays of all known sites. Each location contains part of a larger message, but they're also coordinated somehow. The Europa site activated when I approached it. And now, she highlighted specific patterns that pulsed in sync across all locations. The door slid open, and the mysterious woman from the briefing entered. She had finally introduced herself as Director Harrison of Project Legacy. Dr. Chen, please tell me you have something. Sarah nodded, her excitement barely contained. The Hyperion didn't just disappear. It was hidden deliberately. These sites, they're not just leaving us a message. They're testing us. Testing us. Maya frowned. Think about it, Sarah explained, pulling up her latest analysis. These markings use technology we can barely understand, yet they're meant to be found and decoded by us. Each site activates only under specific conditions. Europa responded to human presence. The Mars site only revealed itself under certain radiation frequencies. The Venus markers appeared when we achieved certain technological milestones in atmospheric manipulation. Harrison's eyes narrowed. You're saying whoever left these wanted to ensure we were ready before we found the Hyperion? Exactly. Sarah activated a new simulation. And I think I know why. The quantum data storage in these markers doesn't just contain coordinates or technical specifications. It contains historical records, fragments of the truth about our past. The simulation showed a series of images reconstructed from the decoded data. They revealed scenes that defied conventional history, advanced ships wielding weapons that bent space itself, cities that extended into orbit, and technology that seemed more advanced than anything humanity currently possessed. 300 years ago, Sarah continued, we weren't just beginning to explore space. We had already mastered it. The first expansion wasn't our first step into the solar system. It was our recovery from something that nearly destroyed us. Harrison nodded slowly. The first invasion. The official records were erased, but some of us kept the truth alive. The Hyperion didn't just defeat the alien fleet. It saved humanity. But the cost was our civilization itself. Sarah finished. The technology the Hyperion used to defeat the invaders had unintended consequences. It damaged the fabric of space-time throughout the solar system. Most of our advanced technology stopped working. We had to start over, rebuild from scratch. Maya looked between them. But if that's true, why hide the truth? Why not preserve the knowledge? Because we weren't ready, Harrison said quietly. The message in these markers makes that clear now. The technology that nearly destroyed us, we needed to rediscover it gradually, develop it naturally, understand it fully. Sarah brought up a new display, showing an overlay of all the marker sites. And now we have. Each of these sites was placed precisely. Together, they form a map, not just to the Hyperion's location, but to the understanding we need to use it. A warning klaxon sounded throughout the facility. The alien fleet had passed Mars orbit, days ahead of schedule. Their weapons had already destroyed the automated defense platforms in their path without slowing. How long do you need? Harrison asked, her voice tense. Sarah studied the complex web of data before her. The sites are linked. Now that we've decoded enough of them, I think, yes. She input a rapid series of commands. Across the solar system, the ancient markers pulsed in unison. They're coordinating, sharing data. Give me 12 hours. Harrison checked her tactical display. You have 8. The fleet will reach Luna's orbit in 10. She turned to Maya. Lieutenant, assemble a strike team. Once Dr. Chen has the coordinates, we'll need to move fast. As they left, Sarah immersed herself in the stream of data now flowing from all sites simultaneously. The markers were revealing their secrets at last, painting a picture of humanity's true history, and possibly its future. But what she found made her blood run cold. The aliens approaching weren't just invaders. They were the same species that had attacked 3 centuries ago, and the Hyperion hadn't just driven them away. It had marked humanity as something unprecedented in the galaxy, a species that could not be conquered. And now they had returned to finish what they started. Sarah worked through the night, piecing together fragments of humanity's lost past as the alien fleet drew ever closer. The markers told a story of sacrifice. The crew of the Hyperion choosing to hide their ship and its dangerous technology until humanity could rediscover these advances naturally, safely. As dawn broke over the Himalayas, Sarah looked up from her work. The final pieces had fallen into place. She knew where to find the Hyperion, and more importantly, she understood why its creators had gone to such lengths to preserve it. Director Harrison, she called over the quantum comm. Wake up your strike team. I know where we need to go. The coordinates led to somewhere no one had thought to look, somewhere hiding in plain sight all along. The Hyperion wasn't lost in some distant corner of space. It was waiting in the last place anyone would expect to find an advanced warship, in the heart of the sun itself. The awakening. Inside the sun. Admiral Hassan's voice carried equal parts disbelief and anger. That's impossible. Nothing could survive those conditions. Sarah stood her ground in the emergency briefing room, surrounded by holograms showing the approaching alien fleet. The markers are clear. The Hyperion isn't just surviving inside the sun, it's using it. The solar corona isn't just hiding the ship, it's powering it. Director Harrison stepped forward. Our deep space probes have detected unusual patterns in the sun's magnetic field for decades. We always assumed they were natural phenomena. They're not, Sarah explained, bringing up new data streams from the decoded markers. They're maintenance cycles. The Hyperion isn't dormant. It's been active this entire time, waiting. The solar storms that occasionally disrupt our communications, those are the ship's systems running diagnostics. Maya studied the tactical displays. The alien fleet will reach Luna's orbit in 6 hours. Even if you're right, how do we reach a ship inside the sun? Sarah's eyes gleamed. The same way it got there. The markers didn't just tell us where to find the Hyperion. They told us how to access it. She activated a new hologram showing a complex network of energy patterns. These are solar corridors, temporary tunnels of stable space through the sun's corona. The Hyperion's creators left us the keys to create them. Admiral Hassan frowned. What do you need? 3 quantum synchronizers from our most advanced chips, modified according to these specifications. Sarah transmitted a set of technical data and a ship that can handle extreme gravitational stress. The Helios, Harrison said immediately. It's our newest solar research vessel, designed to operate closer to the sun than anything we've built before. Hassan checked the tactical feeds again. How long to modify the synchronizers? 2 hours, Sarah replied. Another hour to install them on the Helios. That leaves us 3 hours to reach the sun, find a Hyperion. And she paused. Hope it's everything the legends claim. Do it, Hassan ordered. Director Harrison, this is your operation. Lieutenant Rodriguez, your team will provide security. Dr. Chen. He fixed her with a stern gaze. Don't make me regret this. 2 hours later, Sarah stood in the Helios's engine room, making final adjustments to the quantum synchronizers. The devices hummed with power, their modified fields interacting in ways that defied conventional physics. Final diagnostics complete, Maya reported from her station. All systems nominal, but we're detecting unusual quantum fluctuations from the synchronizers. That's exactly what we want, Sarah replied, checking the patterns against the marker data. These fluctuations will resonate with the Hyperion systems, creating a stable pathway through the corona. The Helios accelerated away from Earth, its advanced engines pushing it to speeds that would have been impossible just a decade ago. Through the viewports, Sarah watched her home planet shrink behind them, already seeing flashes of weapons fire as Earth's defense fleet engaged the alien vanguard. Multiple hostile contacts detected, the tactical officer announced. 3 enemy vessels have broken formation to intercept. Harrison took command. Evasive maneuvers, all power to the engines and forward shields. We only need to stay ahead of them until we reach the solar corridor coordinates. The Helios shuddered as enemy fire grazed their shields. The alien ships were faster, more powerful, but they seemed hesitant to approach too closely. Sarah realized why as she checked their course. They think we're crazy, she said with a grim smile. We're heading straight for the sun. No sane species would do that. Good thing we're human then, Maya replied, managing a tight grin of her own. The sun grew larger in their viewports, its surface a churning sea of plasma and magnetic storms. Sarah's modified sensors detected the patterns she was looking for, subtle distortions in the corona that matched the marker data. Beginning quantum synchronization, she announced, activating the modified devices. Energy fields sprang to life around the Helios, bending space in ways that made the crew's eyes water to look at. The pursuing alien ships suddenly broke off their attack, retreating to a safe distance. They'd never seen anything like what the Helios was attempting. Corridor formation detected, Maya reported, her voice tense with excitement. It's working. Before them, the sun's corona seemed to part like a curtain, revealing a tunnel of stable space, leading into the star's outer layers. The Helios plunged forward, its shield straining against the enormous energies surrounding them. Multiple contacts. The tactical officer shouted. Something's moving out there. Through the quantum-stabilized corridor, Sarah saw them, massive shapes emerging from the solar plasma. For a moment, she feared they'd found an alien fleet hiding in the sun. Then she saw the familiar patterns etched into their hulls, patterns that matched the ancient markers. Those aren't alien ships, she breathed. They're part of the Hyperion. It's not just one ship, it's a whole fleet. The vessels moved with impossible grace, assembling themselves around a central point where something massive was taking shape. Sarah's modified sensors registered power readings that dwarfed anything in human history. The Hyperion isn't just a warship, she realized, finally understanding the full scope of what they'd found. It's a nexus point, a control center for an entire defensive network hidden inside the sun. We didn't just build one ship to save Earth. We built an armada. As if responding to her words, the assembled vessels pulsed with energy. A signal washed over the Helios, and every screen filled with the same message. Recognition Protocol accepted. Hyperion Defense Network activating. Sarah felt tears in her eyes as she watched humanity's greatest achievement awakening from its long slumber. They hadn't just found a weapon. They'd rediscovered their heritage, their true potential. And they'd done it just in time. Above Earth, the alien fleet was about to learn why you don't underestimate humans twice. Trial by fire. The Helios docked with the central nexus of the Hyperion network, magnetic clamps engaging with technology that somehow recognized them despite 3 centuries of dormancy. Sarah led the boarding team through airlocks that opened at their approach, corridors lighting up with that same familiar blue glow she'd first seen in Europa's ice caves. The air's breathable, Maya reported, checking her sensors. Environmental systems are active and adapting to our presence. Sarah nodded, understanding now. The ship remembers us. The markers weren't just leaving us directions. They were preparing the Hyperion for our return. They reached what had to be the command center, a vast circular chamber dominated by holographic displays showing both the solar system and the alien fleet approaching Earth. Director Harrison touched a control panel, and the room came alive with information. Multiple Earth defense platforms have been destroyed, Harrison reported grimly. Our fleet is engaged but taking heavy losses. We have less than an hour before their main force reaches Earth. Sarah moved to the central console, where patterns similar to the ancient markers flowed across the surfaces. As she touched them, information flooded her mind, not through displays, but through direct neural interface. The ship, she gasped, it's teaching me how to control it. The technology, it's not just advanced, it's evolved. It learns, adapts, grows. Maya steadied her as she swayed under the influx of information. What are you seeing? Everything. How the ships work, why they were hidden. Sarah's eyes widened. The aliens, I understand now. They're called the Nexus, a species that believes they're the only ones worthy of advancing beyond their solar system. They don't just invade. They systematically eliminate any civilization that might one day challenge them. But they failed with us, Harrison said, 300 years ago. Yes, but not just because of the Hyperion's technology. Sarah brought up historical records stored in the ship's database. It was how we used it. Every other species they encountered either fell quickly or took centuries to develop countermeasures. Humanity did it in months. That's why they're back, Maya realized. We scared them. Sarah nodded, still processing the flood of tactical and historical data. The Hyperion fleet wasn't hidden to protect its technology from us. It was hidden to protect us from immediate retaliation, while we developed naturally. Its creators knew the Nexus would return, but they wanted humanity to be ready this time. Warning signals flashed through the command center. The alien fleet had broken through the last line of Earth's orbital defenses. "Are we ready?" Harrison asked quietly. Sarah's hands moved across the control surfaces with growing confidence. Throughout the solar corona, the hidden fleet of ships began to move. The Hyperion network is fully operational. But there's something you need to know. This technology, it's not like pressing buttons or entering commands. It requires direct neural connection. The more ships we activate, the more minds we need to control them, Harrison finished. How many? At least 30 for the primary battle group. The neural load for more would be too dangerous. Maya stepped forward. "My security team. We're already cleared for experimental neural interfaces. We can handle it." Harrison nodded. "I'll take command of the secondary group. Dr. Chen, the Hyperion Nexus is yours. The alien fleet needs to be pushed back beyond Jupiter's orbit before we can fully deploy the network." Sarah felt the weight of history settling on her shoulders. 3 centuries ago, humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger. Now they would show the Nexus exactly how much stronger. All neural interface stations online, Maya reported as her team took their positions. Battle group commanders signaling ready. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the vast network of ships connecting through her consciousness. The technology was incredible, not just weapons and shields, but devices that could bend space itself, creating corridors of altered physics that could trap or destroy enemy vessels. "Multiple Nexus capital ships entering Earth orbit," Harrison announced. "They're powering up their main weapons." "Not this time," Sarah whispered. She opened her eyes, and the Hyperion fleet moved. The first alien ships died before they even detected the attack. Hyperion vessels erupted from the solar corona, their advanced drives creating ribbons of distorted space in their wake. Their weapons didn't fire energy beams or projectiles. They fired corridors of altered spacetime that simply erased sections of enemy ships from existence. The Nexus fleet responded with overwhelming force, their weapons capable of destroying small moons. But the Hyperion ships flowed around the attacks like water, their movements guided by the combined neural net of their human controllers. "They're adapting," Maya called out, "changing their weapon frequencies." "That's what we do best," Sarah responded. Through the neural link, she felt the Hyperion systems analyzing the enemy attacks, evolving countermeasures in real time. The ship's artificial intelligence wasn't just advanced, it was designed to work in perfect synchronization with human intuition and creativity. The battle spread across the inner solar system as the Hyperion fleet demonstrated exactly why humanity had frightened the Nexus so badly. Every tactic the aliens employed was countered, every strategy turned against them. The neural link allowed the human controllers to react with impossible speed, while still maintaining the creativity and unpredictability that machines alone could never match. But the Nexus commanders weren't fools. As their front lines crumbled, they began concentrating fire on the Helios, recognizing it as the command center coordinating the human counterattack. "Forward shields failing," Harrison reported. "They've identified our position." Sarah felt the strain of maintaining the neural link while coordinating the defense. "Maya, take your team and execute Attack Pattern 7. Director, I need your group too." She never finished the sentence. A massive energy surge from the Nexus flagship tore through space toward the Helios. In that moment, Sarah understood exactly what the ancient markers had been preparing them for. It wasn't just about finding the Hyperion. It was about being ready to make the same choice its original crew had made. "All power to the space-time drives," she ordered. "Everyone, brace for total neural integration." The Hyperion systems responded to her command, drawing power directly from the sun itself. The ship's consciousness merged more deeply with its human controllers, and Sarah felt the full weight of 3 centuries of preparation settling into place. They were about to show the Nexus why humanity had become legend. Humanity's legacy. Time seemed to slow as the Nexus flagship's energy beam approached the Helios. Through the neural link, Sarah felt the Hyperion systems responding to her desperate command, drawing unprecedented power from the solar corona. The ship's consciousness merged completely with its human controllers, and in that moment of perfect synthesis, she understood everything. The ancient markers, the hidden fleet, the neural interfaces, they weren't just tools left behind by humanity's past. They were a test, a crucible designed to forge something entirely new. The original Hyperion crew hadn't just hidden their technology. They'd set humanity on a path to transcend it. Total neural integration achieved. Maya's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Through the link, Sarah could feel every crew member's consciousness joining with hers, their minds working in perfect harmony with the ship's systems. The approaching energy beam suddenly met a barrier of twisted spacetime, its destructive force caught in an endless loop of its own creation. The Hyperion fleet moved as one, their formations flowing like liquid metal through the void, each ship an extension of their combined will. Impossible. The transmission from the Nexus flagship carried genuine fear. Your species cannot have mastered quantum consciousness. The biological strain. You still don't understand, Sarah responded. Her words carried on waves of pure thought. Humans don't accept limitations. We transcend them. The Hyperion fleet demonstrated this truth with devastating elegance. Ships phased through enemy fire by temporarily shifting out of normal spacetime. Weapons found gaps in Nexus defenses that existed for microseconds. Every tactic was analyzed, adapted to, and countered before the aliens could complete their attacks. But the Nexus hadn't survived for millennia by being easily defeated. Their flagship split into multiple segments, each becoming a separate vessel bristling with weapons. Your achievement changes nothing, their commander transmitted. You are still young, still primitive. We have exterminated civilizations that stood for millions of years. Sarah felt Harrison's consciousness brush against hers through the neural net. Show them what primitive really means. Through their combined will, they activated the Hyperion's true purpose. The fleet began moving in impossible patterns, their space-time drives working in precise synchronization. Solar matter streamed between the ships in carefully controlled ribbons of plasma. They're creating something, Maya observed through the link, her thoughts tinged with awe. The Nexus forces started a fighting retreat, their sensors detecting energy readings that defied their understanding. But it was too late. The trap had been set the moment they entered the solar system. You judge species by how long they've existed, Sarah transmitted to the alien fleet. We judge by how far they've come. Humanity went from horse-drawn carriages to quantum physics in less than 2 centuries. We went from our first powered flight to landing on our moon in just 66 years. The space between the Hyperion ships began to glow as their pattern reached completion. The solar plasma they'd gathered formed a lattice of pure energy, each point corresponding to a quantum fluctuation in spacetime. And 300 years ago, Sarah continued, we went from nearly being destroyed by your kind to creating this. The lattice activated. Reality itself seemed to shudder as thousands of micro-wormholes sprang into existence around the Nexus fleet. Each ship found itself suddenly occupying the same space as a piece of the sun's corona, transported through the quantum network the Hyperion fleet had woven. Strategic analysis complete, the ship's AI announced through the neural link. 87% of enemy fleet neutralized. Remaining vessels attempting emergency faster than light transit. Sarah reached out through the network, touching the minds of every human controller. Do we let them go? The response came back unanimous. The remaining Hyperion ships took up position around the retreating Nexus vessels, not to destroy them, but to ensure they witnessed what came next. Through their combined consciousness, humanity activated the final protocol left behind by the original Hyperion crew. The quantum network expanded, encompassing the entire solar system. Solar plasma formed into structures that defied conventional physics, platforms, stations, and defenses that would ensure Earth would never be threatened again. Take this message back to your people, Sarah transmitted to the surviving Nexus ships. Humanity isn't just another species for you to eliminate. We're not defined by how long we've existed, but by how quickly we evolve, how readily we adapt, how fiercely we defend our right to exist. We don't just survive, we transcend. The alien ships flood into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind a solar system transformed. The Hyperion fleet settled into defensive positions, their human controllers beginning to understand the true legacy they'd inherited. Neural integration disengaging, Maya reported as their consciousness gradually separated back into individuals. All systems nominal. Sarah opened her eyes to see Earth shining blue and peaceful through the Helios's viewport. The neural link had changed them all, not just connecting them to the ships, but to each other and to the vast knowledge their ancestors had left behind. "Director," she said, turning to Harrison, "I don't think we'll be able to keep this classified anymore." Harrison smiled, watching as the quantum network continued its work, transforming their solar system into something unprecedented in galactic history. "I don't think we need to. The Nexus feared us because we represented something they'd never encountered, a species that could match 3 million years of evolution in mere centuries." "And now?" Maya asked, still absorbing the implications of what they'd achieved. "Now we show the galaxy what humanity truly is," Sarah replied. "Not just survivors or warriors, but pioneers of what's possible." The Hyperion wasn't just a weapon. It was a key to our next evolution. As the sun rose over Earth, its light playing through the quantum networks now protecting their home, humanity faced not just a new day, but a new era. They had rediscovered their legacy, proven their potential, and shown the galaxy that sometimes the most remarkable species are the ones that write their own destiny. The ancient markers had done their job. Humanity hadn't just found its past, it had claimed its future. And somewhere out in the galaxy, other civilizations would soon learn what the Nexus had discovered the hard way. Never underestimate a species that turns its limitations into possibilities.